Administrative reports, starting with the mayor.
I would like to turn my time over to the City Center Task Force to give their report from the task force.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening to Mr. President and the members of council. Of course, I am Ron Mosby, and I'm part of the City Center Task Force. Just to remind members of council, before I left, we had made a motion to put together a task force to find out what needed to be done for the city center that we're in, and so these are the recommendations that I'll be presenting to you tonight, and the proposed plan of action. And before I do, though, I would like the members who had participated in that, if you could stand, just so that the public would know who you are. And so, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I will say thank you to everyone for their diligent effort and work to prepare this. I believe, is it Mrs. Long? You're going to be handling the. Okay, all right. So to begin, a little bit of background: the city center, where we are, of course, this was originally an elementary school. It was built approximately 1950. It was acquired by the city in 2010, and that was the building was actually acquired in the form of a swap. We swapped properties with the North College Hill School District, and in that swap we acquired this building. And at that time there was a former task force along with Xavier University Community Building Institute. They also did a survey to determine the needs of the community. At the same time, Procter & Gamble, DAV, Frank Sullivan Landscaping, and other community organizations volunteered to complete the initial facelift here. And so there's been quite a bit of volunteer work that was done. However, no major investment, no major fiscal investment in dollars had been made to improve the condition of the building. And what we will be talking about here shortly is the physical building itself. I do want to differentiate that with the work that was done outside. Of course, we did have major work done on the parking lot, and so we have had a parking lot improvement. Right now, originally, the city center vision was that the city administration offices and council chambers would be on the east side of the building, as they are right now, and then it would be a mixed-use facility on the west side. The emphasis was going to be on the west side of focusing on revenue generation, excuse me. And right now, there is interest in the building in that the city administration receives on average about 15 calls a week inquiring about space from potential tenants. And when I say that, I do want to also stress that there is an opportunity cost that does come with doing nothing, meaning that if we cannot provide potential occupant space, that is opportunity or revenue that is lost because we're not able to use the space or have the space utilized. The former administration building, which is where we came from, was, of course, what is now Krimmer's Italianette, and of course also the former council chambers is being used for the mayor's court. Right now, so what are our challenges? Right now, the building is not up to code. The roof is beyond repair and actively leaking in employee workspaces. In a little more detail about that, law prohibits any roof from having more than 2 layers, and our roof does have 2 layers. And not only that, there is also very clear evidence of leaking, which means that clearly there are holes in the roof, and that's evidence from leaking in the administrative offices. Also, we have also had a mold test done, and as you can see there is evidence of a number of different types of mold, and obviously that will affect habitability. And so I know that I believe Mrs. Long can also later. We don't have all of the details on that, but we can provide that later. There is also another important point that we have to make here. There was a letter, I believe that all of you received a copy of it. It was basically a finding, an opinion from the city attorney. And one of the things that he was stating in there is that we, being the city, is responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of our building. One thing that we did discover, of course, when we were looking at the insurance policy, if there was any damage that happened to the building, it would not be covered if the damage that occurred was a result of a lack of maintenance. So that was number one. And number two, in the letter that the city attorney provided, the city solicitor, he also mentioned that there are certain exceptions to our immunity, because political subdivisions are immune from certain types of prosecution, but there are exceptions to that. And one of those exceptions is if we knowingly have issues, and particularly maintenance issues, and we don't take care of those issues. So if we did literally have a leaking roof, somebody's walking through here, we knew it was leaking, we didn't take care of it, the roof collapsed, it injured people, we would not be immune from that kind of prosecution or liability. Finally, the recommendations that we have are very simple. Number one, we need to make the building habitable so that we would be able to occupy the building and have it filled, and of course that would increase our opportunity for revenue generation. But we want to annually and adequately fund the city building maintenance going forward. We're asking that you pass a resolution that is on your agenda tonight, which is Resolution 10, 2016, to open the bidding for necessary repairs. I do want to stress it simply opens the bidding and it allows you to receive the bids to really get a good idea of what the cost estimate will be. We do have some projected cost estimates that we've worked on. Once the bids are established, we are certainly asking to fund the necessary repairs to the city center that will make the building habitable and safe for both employees and the citizens. And then we'd also like to partner with community organizations to raise funds, to seek out grants. But given the significant liabilities, the city cannot delay any further in making the repairs. I would like to stress two other things. One is that I know that the council is considering right now an ordinance that would require for citizens, of course, to pay for basically a fee, and we also have building codes that we have for our residents that will require a certain level of maintenance. And I do believe that as a city council, and particularly as an administration building, we would have to be the first. We should be the first. We should be the people who set the example for making sure that we maintain the facilities that we have. And of course, this building belongs to the city, and so I do think that we need to set the example as far as maintenance, building maintenance. And certainly, if we're going to expect our residents to do that, that's something that we should do. The other thing is, and this is just a short story, but to tell you what kind of interest people have in this, I was having lunch with an associate myself, a person I hadn't seen in a while, and I was just sharing with him what we were doing here in North College Hill, and particularly what we were doing with this building and what we would like to see accomplished. And I was just expressing to him that one of those challenges that we were going to have was to make sure that we would help raise funds for the repair of the building. Interestingly enough, the gentleman, after he heard the story, pulled a donation out and just gave it to me right there. Now, this gentleman doesn't even live in North College Hill. But I feel that it's important for you to know, because there are people who are interested in really making our city really a world-class city, which I believe it can be. But I know it takes effort from the entire community. It's not just one or two people. It's all of us working together. And for the record, I did give that donation to Mrs. Long. So I just want everybody to know. But thank you all very much for your time. I certainly will be here to answer any questions that you may have.
City Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mosby.
I will yield my time to Garland Group.
Okay, I am Brian Hogan with the Garland Company, and appreciate the opportunity to present in front of council. A lot of this is informational. There is a financing piece towards the end, and we'll explain that in more detail. But really appreciate the opportunity, and this really is a tremendous opportunity for the city to upgrade the facility, and we have some projections as well as far as dollars that could be attained by getting the building up to code and for future tenants. So a little bit about who Garland is. We're a United States-based full-service roof asset management company, over 100 years old. We're financially stable, one of the best credit ratings in the industry, and we have facilities located throughout the country. We have a full line of products that we manufacture, and I'll have local references of cities and school districts locally that we work with at a later slide. The process is understanding your building assets. Full report on all your buildings. We've had the opportunity to be involved in police and fire, and we've solved some issues there, minor issues that are prolonging those assets for you. We evaluate the main issues and develop a plan, put together preventative maintenance when feasible, establish yearly budgets, and then develop the best solution for certain building once a roof project is established, keeping life cycle cost in mind, and then project control. The roofing, again, assessments, repairs, replacement, we involved in new construction, are also looking at the building exterior, the entire building envelope as well. What we've done so far is understand the current condition of each roof section of the building, create a list of internal repairs that need to be made to meet building code, and create a solution that will help the city of North College Hill develop this building into a valuable asset to the city. We've also developed a finance plan that allows the city to maintain their assets and generate positive revenue, and we'll evaluate the next steps going forward. Due to the building requiring multiple improvements, we have brought in Perfection Group, and Brittany Geringer is with us this evening, who currently works with North College Hill to address multiple other improvements. We basically, just for purposes of this presentation, we broke the building up into two phases. Phase one will allow the building to be occupied, eliminating many of the glaring issues at hand, and then phase two will be addressed at a further date using a different method. A little bit about the Perfection Group. It's a local company since 1951, family owned and operated. They provide green building solutions, design build services. They currently have a maintenance service with a maintenance contract with the city for various HVAC needs. The history of success up to this point, we've managed to stop leaking issues at the North College Hill Police Station to prolong that asset for the city. As I mentioned, Perfection currently holds a maintenance agreement. And then Perfection Group completed an energy savings project in 2011, which included upgraded lighting in buildings and street lights, programmable thermostats, and high-efficiency heaters and HVAC systems. Facts regarding the certain roofing structure. Currently, it's a ballasted EPDM roof that is, in all intents and purposes, completely failed. The membrane is completely ripped around the entire perimeter, is currently leaking throughout the facility, ruining the structure of the building. It holds a lot of water throughout the roof. If membrane fails in these areas, gallons of water will enter the building, causing even larger issues. This is just an overview. Currently, as you can see based on the satellite, we're in Area A to the right, and we've addressed the project as a whole project for phase one for the roofing. The picture on the left is basically underneath where we are right now. It does hold a considerable amount of water. It's called a ponding water condition. And we try to look at roofs, like we did at police and fire, we look at trying to maintain assets and do maintenance. The challenge with this roof, and I've been with Garland over 20 years, when you start putting a lot of money towards these types of systems like you have on this building, the proverbial throwing good money after bad. And we were able to make some really good repairs and solve an issue at the police and fire and prolong that asset for you for down the road. The picture on the right, that is an open seam that is throughout the entire perimeter of the building. So water is actively in the system, and on one of the next slides you'll see a core cut that was taken on the right. We tried to show the level of saturated insulation that is in the top roof system. There are 2 roof systems on the building, and that's benefiting to some degree. If you only had 1 roof system, you'd be seeing a lot more issues. So the original roof, the first layer of roofing is helping to some degree keep some of the water out. Another photo of the perimeter with the failed flashing. And again, one might ask, if you make repairs here, then you still have other issues throughout the building. You still have saturated insulation. And again, we've seen a lot of systems like this, and it beyond the point of repair and beyond its useful life. So the cost of neglect is shutdown time, internal damage to computers and machinery, obviously safety issues, environmental issues. We touched on the mold issue before, and then losing income and opportunity for the city with this great asset that you have here. These are pictures from inside the building with current damaged ceiling tile. On the left, there's moisture on the floor. We were here during one of the walkthroughs, and they had a camp down but not by the gymnasium, and there's active leaks on the floor as we're doing a tour of the building. And again, we're not trying to overemphasize it, but there's currently a lot of active leaks in the corridor when we had the opportunity to tour the building a few weeks ago, one of our many tours. Other environmental issues, stains on the wall. Again, when there's water, there's potential for mold. Again, more damage, leaks on the right, damaged tile. And as part of the program, we do have the tile being addressed as part of a comprehensive program. So lost revenue. By not being able to rent out the space due to building not being up to building code, the city of North College Hill is losing out on potential revenue. The next slide breaks down all the different areas where the city is losing money. So we made projections on the total loss of income, and based on additional church groups, first additional vacant room estimated at dollar amounts, summer camp, and as a city getting 15 calls a day. It's a tremendous asset, again, as I've said before, and something that has tremendous potential for the council and for the city. How can we help? So the total project control is we develop the specification and bid packages along with engineering services. We invite qualified contractors to bid on the project. A pre-bid meeting is established, bid analysis meeting, pre-construction meeting, and job closeout with a 30-year warranty issued. We do complete project management and control for the city. It's a turnkey delivery method, which is recognized in the state of Ohio. Everything under one umbrella, installation services, project management, closeout warranty, and ease of use and best value. The process going forward would be to create documents designed specifically for this building, hold a pre-bid meeting, and then bids are sent and awarded based on the city's preferences. Phase 1 would include a new long-term roof system for the entire building, better insulating values. So the R value is with wet insulation is nothing. So one of the major goals of this project is to increase and enhance the building efficiencies on the roof side by putting more insulation, and then obviously addressing the HVAC and boiler systems, which are very dated in this building as well. Just an example of what a finished project could look like on the roof side. One of the biggest things we would also address, and this is also a code issue, is the ponding conditions that are on the roof now. So we would provide complete tapered system to alleviate any ponding conditions, and there's just a lot of concern with ponding conditions on roof systems. And we would make sure that water is eliminated from the roof. The HVAC upgrades would include replacing a new boiler with a high-efficiency boiler, adding cooling packages for air conditioning through the west wing and the gym, cooling packages to be placed on the roof, add a detailed duct package, and programmable thermostats will be added to control temperature based on needs. The projected budget for the phase 1, which includes a roof for the entire building, along with HVAC and boilers, would be $920 to just over $1 million. And this is strictly a budget. We would go through a competitive process to obtain hard numbers based on council's approval this evening, and then have the opportunity to come back to council to present those firm numbers. This obviously eliminates water coming into the building, better design for the roof system, and a better efficiency for the entire building. So we've recently worked with Huntington Bank on creating a partnership to allow public agencies to finance projects through their turnkey approach. We found this is cheaper than a bond, it's a very low interest rate, and it's flexible regarding payment options, and is direct with the bank to avoid extra costs. And I just want to state for the record, we are no means, sometimes we'll work with a public entity and they'll have a banking relationship of their own, and they'll approach that bank, and sometimes they can come up with a better rate than this. So this is more informational. We have approached them. They are familiar with the project. These are real numbers, hard data. But again, I'll stress that the council or whoever, finance, can obviously look at other alternative options as well. So the interest rates can range from anywhere from 2 to 3.5%, and it can range from 3 to 10 years on payment arrangements. I apologize for this slide. It's a little difficult to read, obviously, in this format, but this basically lays out, and we can have copies of this presentation, obviously, to council for further review. It's based on a 10-year, 2.55 interest rate payment structure. So phase 2, Perfection Group was able to put the comprehensive list of things together that needed to be done to the building. And I'll have Brittany speak to the following items that are things that need to be addressed eventually over the next 1 to 4 years that we've also highlighted and targeted and also budgeted as part of this program.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. Appreciate the opportunity. Can't hear me? I'm not quite as tall. So we had gone through the building a couple weeks ago, and we did look at, your mechanical needs, the HVAC needs in the boiler. And then in addition to that, our Green Building Solutions group, we come into municipalities and we help them with complete infrastructure upgrades. So we did look at the floor and replacing a lot of your either the missing tiles or the tiles that have been damaged from the water damage, and there are quite a few of them. So that cost to go through the entire building and replace the missing tiles or the ones that have been damaged is $14,286. And then LED lighting. You've done some LED lighting upgrades at some of your other city buildings. LED lighting is the preferred method of lighting today, but this would allow you to upgrade all of your lighting. There are Duke Energy rebates. The rebate estimates are $9,500. Any rebate that is offered through Duke Energy through this would be a pass-through to the city. We would apply for those rebates and pass them on to the city. So the total cost to complete the lighting for the entire building, which includes the interior of the building and then the lights on the exterior of the building, is $22,765. Window and door replacements. So there are 27 windows that needs to be replaced. These would be replaced with a double pane high efficiency window, similar to what's actually been replaced on this side of the building already. They do offer a 20-year warranty on the glass and then 10-year on parts and labor. And the color would match the current windows that are on there today. As far as that door, that's the door. Go ahead. The door all the way at the end of the hallway, that needs to be replaced. It is rusting out of the bottom, and it becomes an issue of safety and people breaking in. So you would get a new door. That new door would be shield you from losing energy through the bottom of the door, and then also offer as a safety precaution, and it would have panic hardware on one of the doors, and the cost for that is $8,000. The sinks, The sinks, toilets, and stalls in the women's and men's bathroom on the west wing are needing to be replaced. These would be replaced with a more efficient fixture or more efficient fixtures. These would be automatic flushing, and the water automatically would turn on at the faucets. And the cost for this is $22,571. And then the masonry, you talk about the roof leaking and you talk about the moisture issues that you currently have in the building. One of the things that also needs to be addressed is the moisture issue that you have, or moisture issues that you have surrounding the building. So we did have a masonry expert come out. This is very common. It is very common to have, masonry issues, especially with moisture in the building. So you have moss growing on the exterior of the building. You have some of the structure crumbling. They would fix all that. They would fill all the joints. They would tuck point, caulk all the seams, and the cost for that is just under $160,000, or at $158,821. The ceiling repair, again, based on the leaking roof and the roof leaking for quite some time, it has damaged the plaster ceiling significantly. I have several other pictures of this. These two just happen to be two that I chose to use in here. So they would come in and they would fix all of the areas that have damage to the ceiling. That does not include new ceiling tiles, but the cost of that is $34,679. It does not include ceiling tiles. That's only the plaster repair. Do you want to talk about this part? Okay. Sure, thanks.
So a lot of those were phase two options. Again, the first phase would be the roofing system and the boiler and HVAC upgrades. Phase two were the things that Brittany just spoke about. So included in the phase one budget, the boiler replacement, an estimated cost of $40,000, annual operating energy savings of $1,900, and a capital savings of $4,000. HVAC retro commissioning, just almost $258,000. The capital savings of almost $26,000. Pricing for phase facility option 2, adding the windows to this as well for $418,000. And then adding the LED lighting. Again, the idea is to give you, present options so that you can obviously pick and choose possibly for phase one and what you can leave for phase two in the project. And then option 4, the toilet sinks and stalls in the west wing. So references that we've had the opportunity to work with here locally: City of Middletown, Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing Authority, Claremont County, Finneytown Local Schools, Winton Woods Schools, Princeton City Schools, Cincinnati Public Library, and the Talbert House. Those are just a few references of local clients that we've had the opportunity to work with. And that is a lot of information. So I anticipate some questions, but that's basically the presentation there. Yeah, the Garland Company, we're part of the U.S. Communities Purchasing Cooperative. So it's a nationally advertised and solicited contract that allows one of our divisions called Garland DBS, Design Build Solutions, to go and actively pursue pricing from local contractors to complete the work.
I'm not sure the microphone picked up my heart palpitations when I saw the $1 million. Okay.
It's a large
checking.
it's a large footprint of a building. You got a beautiful, yeah.
Okay, well, my question is, none of your discussion had touched on to the kitchen. Because, why? And the only reason I ask it is because a kitchen, if it can be properly upgraded and given a license as commercial kitchen, which it probably had when it was a school, would be a very revenue-driven facility to the outside community.
If I can address, that's a great point, and thank you for bringing that up. The purpose of this is to give you an asset, to upgrade the asset, to allow for things just like that. And that's a tremendous point. There is so much opportunity here that you touched on earlier as well for the city. The challenge, I guess, if you will, is you have to get the shell to where it's a usable, to allow the city to have that opportunity that you're talking about. So it's a tremendous point, and again, those are the kind of opportunities that the city has with this building.
So I had a question. I don't know about everybody else, but I watch HGTV, so I love watching this fixer-upper shows. Okay, so I'm looking at your thing up here, and I'm looking for this place has good bones. I'm looking for something, and I'm not seeing one thing where you're going, well, this part's right. We're down to replacing even the nails in the walls. I mean, when you did the walk through the building and the roof and all that, did you find one thing that is working for the building? Or are we termites holding hands? What are we at?
Yeah, as I mentioned from the beginning, and I think it was shared earlier as well, this is a tremendous asset for the city. There are some challenges with the building envelope that need to be addressed. I think the fact that you have this amazing footprint, albeit a large footprint, that needs some, and that is the tremendous thing that you have here. If we go through each item by item, there's a ton of things you can find that are very positive with the building outside of the presentation about the roof and some other minor HVAC boilers and windows and doors. Unfortunately, those are big envelope items, but there's a tremendous, and I'm not as familiar with the building, I apologize, but if someone wants to speak, there's a lot of tremendous things to this building that as an asset to the city.
Oh, I'm not arguing the asset part of this, because you can definitely just come here on any given day and see the asset part of it. I'm just, because you went through the entire thing and we're down to replacing every single thing in the building. It makes me question, where are we ending with this? Are you wanting to rebuild it from the ground up?
No, with all due respect, it's a great comment. With all due respect, we're not no need to tear down walls. We're just trying to get it to a waterproof, safe environment for the community. So there's seeing the gymnasium that I live in a district that people are really looking for extra gym time. There's just a tremendous asset from kitchen use to community events to make to further enhance the building. But I think if you just take a quick tour around, there's a ton of great attributes to the building that you can see with the visual. I can address from a leak standpoint. The leaks have been identified and are currently active. But as far as there is error, and I'm not up to speed on the testing of that, so.
We just wanted to verify and see if there was a mold problem, and so we only did a small test in, air quality test in 3 areas of the building. We had somebody come in to do so, and they had some type of petri dish that they set out. They did the report comparative from outside to inside, and that's when they came up with the results. Now, we are going to be getting more input on those results as the week go by, so I'll have those throughout the week. But we just wanted to see if there was a presence, because obviously that's a concern. I work here as well as my staff, our staff works here, and we're breathing it daily. So we just wanted to see, it's something that needs to be known, and we need to resolve it or figure out something to do about it.
All right, coming from, again, my expert HGTV watching, I know whenever they talk about mold and they test it and it comes down, they're going, oh God, it's whatever. Sometimes they have to strip it down to they have to get rid of all the contaminated substances. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, we're not at that point,
Are you looking for pricing also on the what-if factor of how bad the mold situation could be if they did have to strip it down to the studs?
We will go back and do that. We just got those results in at the end of the week last week. I think it was fairly close, probably by Friday is when I got those. So then we'll go back and readdress it and see what we need to do and talk to the person who did the test.
So $1 million could just be the beginning.
Yeah.
A lot of the leaks are in the main corridors, if I can address, and along walls, in partitions that are easily visible. So with any project, any construction project, you're always trying to account for any unknowns, and we try to account for that. But a lot of industry stats say when you get rid of that wet insulation that's currently on the roof, that goes a long way to reducing the issues.
Well, and honestly, what I'm noticing is sitting in this seat, that's what the cost is of doing nothing. I think we've had a lot of buildings. I mean, and Mr. DeWald, you mentioned the asbestos, and I've been working with the chief, and we're going to address that as well. But that's what happens. We have buildings that need to be taken care of, and we have done nothing. So what happens when you don't appropriate accordingly? What happens when you don't do those due diligence? You get just like in your house, you get a big fat bill that you're like, how are we going to scrounge up the money to pay for it? But one thing I look at this center is we have children and we have people that say, we need somewhere to go. What do these kids do? They're bored. They're hanging out front of my, house, and as well as there's opportunities for people, workforce development, programming. I've had a lot of people from different cities come and visit, and they're like, we wish we had the space. We don't have space. So it's just a matter of what we're looking for the future of North College Hill. Not everybody may be parents, but there is a different generation that's out there that we need to figure out what we want the direction, because we're going to have to hand it over to them. So we have to choose that now, or we have to just keep on living the way we have been and doing nothing. And that's what we got to look at our leaders for.
And our vision is to come up with programs for all age groups, but, from children to adults, and varied interests that they have. And the president of the Historical Society asked me to speak on the fact that they're in the room right next to us here, and they have artifacts of the city that are absolutely irreplaceable. And they're worried, where's the next leak going to be? Where's the next place in the ceiling is the water coming in? And it could totally destroy all that they've collected there. I myself am also worried about the tax department. Would that be the next place for the water to come leaking through and destroying the computer system that we have in there that is very expensive and holds all of the city's tax information? I mean, you've got to think of what we have housed in here, that we can't run the risk of having it destroyed some, one of those major storms that come through here. And, we have to act on it now. Hopefully we're catching it before there is a deadly mold issue, and we can correct it now.
Last thing, we need your help, though. The city, we don't have a big finance budget. One thing we need is everybody can pay. We need fundraising. We want to hit it on two ends. Just because we can go and take out a loan, we still need money to help pay for that loan. So that's where all of you can step in, because there will be fundraising opportunities that will be out there. We need help organizing those. We don't have a very large staff, so because of that, we need everyone to gather around this building and to work as a community to make it, because we can't, some people, we all don't have a large budget. Income taxes is pretty much our bread and butter here, but we don't all have a lot of money. So that's why if we can all get on the same page, get focused, get together, and we can also help make this building. It can't just be on council making this decision and appropriating. We have to hit it on two ways.
Mr. Mosby?
Your car in to the shop, and you ask the car mechanic to look under the hood and underneath the body, and you say, tell me everything that's wrong and how much it'll cost to fix it. So he comes back out and he tells you it'll be $6,800. So you pick yourself up off the floor, right? You start breathing again. How much, though, is it going to be for me to operate the car just to make sure it keeps going? In other words, if you had everything done, this is how much it would cost. And that's basically what the Garland Group presented to you tonight. But if we're talking about, habitability and making sure that we can at least get it up to speed so that we would be able to have it occupied. In other words, what do we need to do now versus, trying to do all of that at one time, doing certain parts now and then maybe doing some other things a little bit later. the cost would be significantly less.
At what point do you look at it and go, okay, we definitely need a community center because, you know, this is great for our city. We have some place for kids to go. We have some place for adults to go to be with their kids. It's wonderful to be here. I'm saying is you want it to be safe for our kids. You want it to be safe, but upwards of $1 million or more, because once you don't know. Once you open the walls, what's going to be here? You don't know. My question is, it might be beneficial to price also building new and having fully upgraded facilities that could possibly be a better gym of, like, you know what I'm saying? Just to see what it would cost in comparison to fixing every single thing in this building to bring it up to a certain point. Do a cost-benefit analysis as to what building new would be.
A green building. A green building.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, because personally, the community center is needed. That's not a question. It's just the fact of, are we replacing every single thing in the building? At what point do you, just like with your car analogy. If my old Toyota, I have put everything in the world, at some point I gotta go. I guess I gotta get a new car. But I'm just saying, I would at least like to see that comparison.
We would also, building new, you would have to consider what time frame are we talking about. We have employees in here, we have equipment in here, we have, ongoing programs right now. People here in the building right now that are living with this mold and with these issues. We have equipment, computers and everything that are here right now in danger of having the next leak being over top of them.
There's going to be constantly people here working in the building, and there's going to be construction here. So the fact of you saying there's already tenants here, if we approve down the road there to be, we go along with this, there's going to be construction ongoing while there's center stage players here, and there's going to be things. So I can't speak for everybody, but I would like at least to see what both sides of the coin looks like. I agree. How you make a decision without seeing both.
I think the last loan I saw when we're wrapping up was the fire truck. Now, I really wasn't around but I don't know, we paid for that loan. We paid it off. We stayed in good standing. I mean, we would have to utilize, obviously, that's what income tax come out to pay for any loans or any debt that we ensue. It's just, it's a matter of the city has been doing a good job in collections, and then we would have, that fire truck would fall off and we would have something else to pay. It's one of those things where I understand nobody wants to go in debt, but again, this is our building. We have buildings, and it feels like as I stepped into this position, there's stuff that is just falling down around us, and we can't delay. We can't continue to delay, because the more we delay is the more we end up paying. And we keep on pushing things off and saying, let's think about it. And I'm happy to get quotes and figure out building new. But what I'm saying is I have staff that is in here every day. I have people that are in here every day. And I myself, I'm immune. I don't have an immune system. The medication I take, it suppresses it completely. So every day I come to work, I'm jeopardizing myself. So I'm just saying, council is up here to make decisions. We can't put it in committee and wait for it to come out. We have to start making decisions one way or another.
I know that I remember that the two of you were against the swap. Basically, the swap was more or less, we got this building for free, including the land around it. The school needed the portion of land where the service department, the public works, sat on in order to complete their new school project. So the city and the school worked together to work out this swap where we got this building. Nowhere was it said that we wouldn't have to do maintenance and repairs, that nothing would have to be done to this building. The point is, that's the past. However we got here, however your feelings were at the time, the city now owns this building. We no longer fit in the old building. We were, if you remember, we could not have council meetings until possibly 8 o'clock, 8:30 at night, because mayor's court was going on at the time, and we couldn't use council chambers. The police department were bursting at the seams and needed more room in the police department. They needed that room. And so moving us out and getting this building gave us more opportunity, more space to use. The police department were able to use their more of that building. The building that we had moved the city offices to, it was the building that the Italianette purchased and is now a thriving business. So what the city gave up in their old administration buildings, which, by the way, if you remember, not all of that building where council started meeting with our public forums was not air conditioned, was not adequately heated. When you turned on the heaters, you could not hear anybody talking. So it was hot, it was unfinished, it had concrete floor. It was not a very good meeting room for council chambers to be, or we had to wait until late at night in order to go over and use our council chambers. So don't paint this picture that all was lovely and wasn't it beautiful back nostalgia time before the swap. But the truth of the matter is, this is our building now. This is our home. Are you going to sit here with your arms crossed saying, well, I didn't like it to begin with, so I'm doing nothing, and I'm going to let this building crumble and mold and disintegrate around us because I didn't like the way it happened to begin with? I was against the swap. And we have assets of the city, artifacts, we have employees, we have the public coming in here for the tax department, and all in danger, all running the risk from sealing the, and all of you sitting here today, all of the people here for a council meeting, is the next leak going to be above your heads? So what you're saying is, I don't care about any of that. I'm not going to take care of my property because I don't like it.
President.
We expect our citizens to maintain their properties. I think it's about time the city started maintaining ours.
Witness back.
Because the only way that any kind of thing will happen here is if we work together. I step forward with an idea, you step forward with an idea. That's all I'm saying. It was not in any way trying to hold up the works, because all I want to do, I've seen what has come up tonight on the slideshows. I've seen there is a lot of people here that uses community center every day. And when you come in here on any given day, there's people coming in and out of here that use it. I think that it is least worth it to them to make sure if we're going to fix this place, let's do it right.
We live here also, and we pay taxes here also. So this is our money also. So we want this neighborhood, this city, to thrive, because it's our city also. So when we're speaking, we're not speaking for this city to fail, but we also want to make sure that we're spending your money wisely. And I'm not for sure that putting $1 million into this building is spending your money wisely. I don't know the children that it's helping. I don't know that. We don't have comps on that I'm aware of, that we don't have comps on that. Maybe I haven't done my part by asking for the comps on that. But I don't know what it's helping. I would like to know what it's going to cost with the bids. But I think that needs to go into a committee to find out through our finance director whether this city can afford that money. But to me, it's my money too. So I mean, so I'm just trying to put it out there. I totally agree with what Ms. Whitlisbach says. I think that we do need some sort of a comparable to what it would cost to have this possibly built up from new. We can bring in a trailer and put, possibly, just throwing ideas out there, maybe the city building, our tax department and our administration be in another building while this is either being renovated or while it's being torn down and built back up. I don't know. But it's up to me or up to this council to spend your money, our money wisely. And that's what we try to do. We don't stall anything purposely. We are in charge of your money. And if I want to do that wisely, and that's why we do what we do, not because we're stalling anything or stonewalling anything. That's not what our intentions are.
With the permission of council and the president, to work with the city administration on what ideas are going forward. I really like the idea, what the task force has come back with. I think the task force has worked really hard. With the permission of council, I would very much like to be able to work hand in hand with the administration on any ideas that might, because I don't want to stand still. I want to see this, you know what I'm saying?
And I would ask about a time frame. We can't wait another year. We can't wait for this to go into committee and be bounced around, since committees only meet once a month. And, it'll be January before anything is comes out of committee and then have to go through 3 readings. I mean, we need this to be taken care of now, or as soon as possible. We've known the roof has been leaking. All of you this isn't new to you, that there's been problems in this building. And just kind of to give you an idea, there was a discussion about building new before we were offered the land swap. And this was probably 10 years ago at least, and the estimate was at least $5 million. Now, I could imagine that has probably doubled, if not tripled, at this time.
Yeah, I mean, one thing y'all don't know.
Can you
these
speak
walls
into-
and stuff, do you know who put them walls up there?
You did?
The DAB. Disabled guys, with heart problems and everything else. We're the ones that did this. Even out there. We have to do some of this stuff. But the main thing, you gotta get this roof fixed. That lady over there, Cheryl, she gotta work in there, and every time it rains, she gotta have buckets and gotta deal with all that water and stuff. You need to get this roof fixed now, and quit joking around. Seriously. I've been over here a whole bunch of times, man. All I see is just, we gotta do something down the road. You keep kicking it down the road. You're gonna put these people's lives in jeopardy. Y'all need to get off your butts and get it done.
Mr. President.
Quit jerking around.
Ms. O'Shea, I do appreciate what you said. I too would like to get the biggest bang for our buck, but you have to pull the trigger to get the bang. So we have to do something in order to really improve the building, and that is the real issue here. And this resolution would be a start, and you could make an informed decision without, having to come back, because even this presentation tonight was not to say, go ahead and approve something for $1 million. So I just wanted to clarify.
And I think this is a good resolution, and it'll probably be passed tonight.
Mr. President.
Without a problem.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I have a quick question. Mr. Mosby, in hearing, what you said and sharing what you've shared, if to add to the task force, it sounds like from what the audience, is sharing, that they want this center to succeed also. So I don't know if your task force is going to meet again, and if they are, bring some of the residents, invite some of them to your task force, and put a levy up. let them vote, let them create a levy, and let them put them up, and let the citizens vote for a levy. And let the citizen, I mean, that way it gets paid for. That way we're, since Ms. Long has stated, multiple times that we are stretched for dollars, and to be fair and to make sure that this place does succeed, and it sounds like the citizens really want this to succeed, and I think that's fantastic, then in your next meeting, your task force, ask for some collaborative work from the citizens to, put together some type of legislation to give the council to put on the ballot and put a tax levy out there for it to support that.
And I will be the first to say that I was not looking at a tax levy or anything like that. My point was that we can, look for grants. We can look for gifts maybe from outside. And that's why I even brought up the example that I shared with you, that citizens too can come forth and to invest. Because I do believe that if this is our city, this is our community, we should be willing to invest in it. And we're not talking about, we're not talking about having to put a levy on the ballot where I think you would use the term, someone used the term $700,000 a year. That's not what we're talking about. Even if we were saying $600,000, that would be the lump sum. But that would be what we would be set out, that's what we would set out to raise. All we're doing tonight, and I think Mr. DeWald, I appreciate what you just said. The only thing that this resolution is asking for tonight is that you all pass it so that you can get bids in. This is not a commitment for any funds, and then that way council has an accurate picture of what it will more than likely realistically cost to get that portion of it done.
Yes, thank you.
Putting a tax levy on the ballot, that won't be on until next year. So that means we go through a whole nother year, a whole nother winter with snow and ice, a whole nother spring with heavy rains. It would be, and that's how long, it'd be over a year before that would even be voted on, much less having a collection of the money and having it go into effect. So that's kind of stepping away from the responsibility. This is our building. We need to maintain it.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Pastor Lloyd Turpening. We rent the gymnasium every Sunday morning. I'll just give you a brief history here. We work with African refugee people. We have approximately 125 refugee people, and from about 10 different countries around the world. And we are very grateful for this opportunity to use this facilities. We've been here 3 years, and we are very thankful for that. There are three things that we have noticed that are very important. One is the roof. Two is good lighting in the gym. They're all going bad. And the third one is heat. We endure the summer. We put on fans and open the door. So this last winter, it got cold in there. So I met with our advisory board, and we discussed, what are we going to do here? So we talked to Cheryl and the administrators, and they said, okay, we as a church are willing to put money here. We rented an industrial heater to put in the, and Marty and the crew was good enough to put up a door, and I think some of you knew that the inspectors and so forth. We spent over $2,000 heating the facility in the winter, and we worked out a deal with the administration. But I want to say we are very thankful for being here, and we urge you as a council to really take this seriously, that the building, hey, if you don't have $1 million, don't start with $1 million. Start where you can, but hit the important parts: the roof, the heating, and some adequate lights. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The task force came tonight and gave a very good presentation. The people that came from the company that is I'm sorry that I didn't just come up with that title, that name, but it hey, the heart's there. The people that came tonight to make the presentation to us obviously put time and effort. Everybody's put time and effort because they care. People are here tonight that come to our community center obviously care. And when things are brought to council, I'm sure everyone here does not want council to just sit here and not say anything. When I'm bringing up comments, it's because I care also. I'm excited. Watching all this, I'm excited, and I'm bringing up questions. Tonight, it should have been something very positive, because everybody's worked so hard. Everybody came tonight with all their ideas. There's a presentation, obviously, people put together. Mr. Mosby worked hard on this. Everybody worked hard on this. And it's turning negative when really it should be positive. We're all here, us up here, the administration over there, and everyone in the audience and everybody watching TV are here for the city and for this community center. Okay?
Mr. President, I just have one comment.
Go ahead.
This wasn't anything to try to ambush council, but
That's
what
not
we're
what I'm
trying to do is set expectations. And I'll do the respect. There's a lot of times that things get put in committee. I have legislation that has been in committee since January that doesn't come out. And I'm just trying to set expectations and give you all I'm pleading with you to not to drag your feet on this. And that is why I'm here saying what we're saying. It's not trying to ambush you all. It's not trying to say, yes, this is the first. The task force has been doing a good job. They've donated their time to sit there, to meet, to organize this. This is people who've given up their time to do this. We have had, other people from the outside. I just need to set expectations because I know how you all do a good job of thinking of stuff, but sometimes we're thinking a long time about legislation, and it's just piling up. And I just don't want this to be another thing that's added to the pile. And that's why I'm just setting that expectation, and I'm putting that out there to just, please, I urge you just to not let this get buried.
Mr. Feeney.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Bert McCollum. I'm one of several members of Center Stage Community Theater that works on the west side. And if you've never been to the west side, you don't know what it's like to walk in for a performance and have 50-gallon drums of water dripping on the stage, near the edge of the stage. Okay? We also deal with a very interesting thing. The restrooms in the pecking order, I don't think would be $1 million. I think you did a wonderful job of doing that. But that's what the public sees, and that is the single most comment we get from our audience members is the condition of the restrooms. Okay? All the rest of this is great, but if you've never been on the west side of that, the other side of that fence, come over and see us. And we gave you a flyer if you're interested. We do great community theater here. The late Dee Dunn raised her kids in North College Hill. It was her vision to have a theater in North College Hill. And we are one of the major tenants here, and we are thrilled to be here. We are thrilled to be here. We would like to stay.
Mr. Hartzell?
I'd just like to thank everybody that's worked on a committee and a task force for the city. It was a good presentation. We do care about our city. We want to spend our tax dollars wisely. I don't think everybody has a money tree growing in their backyard. And if you were to have a car and it had more repairs than you could afford to pay for it, I'm sure you wouldn't have those repairs done on a car that you couldn't afford to pay for. So consider that we are thinking about your money very seriously. We're talking more than $1 million here on the overall operation, upwards of $2 million. So it is a lot of money. And that's all. The gentleman over here has some.
Okay, gentleman from the DAV.
Can I say something?
Sure.
All right, now I used to work in construction, and the cost of things right now, it would be triple than what you're thinking. On the money, I can guarantee it'll be about $15 million to tear this down and redo it. I guarantee you that. At least. You know, I mean, I'm not joking. I know what I'm talking about. You know, and I'm not trying to force anything on anybody. I'm just trying to get something started here so they can get the roof done so it's safer for the employees. You know,
If we had the
I'm
money,
here every day, just like they are.
if we had the money, I wouldn't hesitate.
No, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
bully anybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to say, hey, we gotta do something now.
We'll do what we can afford to do.
Okay. I'll do, hey, you want some fundraisers, we'll do anything to help. Just let us know, you know.
I think that it's important for us to maintain and to have our city center. There was a whole lot of conversation about it, and I'm a listener. I just think it's very important by whatever means, whatever is necessary. There are a lot of people who call this their home. They use it for whatever reason. I would like to see many other activities. It pulls a lot of kids in off the streets. It really does.
I want to thank you all for this opportunity. Center Stage Players is entering its 4th season, and the momentum that we've created is just so exciting. We've been state recognized. It's just getting better and better. Whenever it's raining, I might be lying in bed or sitting having lunch, and I know what Mr. Greg Moore is doing. He's moving buckets and mopping floors. I know that. He makes the best that he can do with his resources. So I would say we don't have to spend $1 million. Let's just fix the roof. Let's start with that. And perhaps we move on. Then we'll have more tenants, we'll have more income, but we've got to fix the roof. It's just square one. And we can move on. We've got this gorgeous new parking lot that the city spent money on that is state-of-the-art, and we can all be very proud of. So I think that's about it. Let's fix the roof. Let's go from there. Thank you so much.
And we're doing some great things, as they say, on the west side of the building. So I want to continue the things that we're doing, working with Mrs. Long and the mayor. We talked about different programming. Mr. Long, we talked about some things that we want to do at the schools. I'd like to gain a new presence in the school. Mr. Blaylock, have a relationship with him that we're going to have programming within the schools. We're not just going to be in this edifice here. So we've got some things going on. We're completing our summer program, which ends August the 19th. And we took 65 kids to Coney Island last week. Some of the kids were scholarshiped who lived in the city of North College Hill. Again, through God, through prayer, through experience, we've been able to do those things. And as has been reiterated from this mic, we need a roof. We need some heat. We can make it. And that's not $1 million. That's just honest. We got great people. Mr. Cole has been a blessing, wonderful person. I think we all get along. I don't know how often you find that where 6, 7 entities where everybody's working together. That's what we have here. So, I don't know. I'd like to come to Chambers one time, maybe talk to the council and let you know what's really going on down there. So that you don't hear it, you hear it from me. You get the truth.
First reading, Resolution 10-2016, City of North College Hill, the City Center Roof Resolution authorizing bids for the replacement and/or repair of the City Center roof and City Center renovations.
Mr. President,
Ms. Whitlow-Spock.
I have a question for Ms. Long. So, hypothetically, if you're able to get bids and start the bidding process for this, you would only be getting the bids. You're not going to be spending any money. You're going to just be getting bids. And I'm sure once you got those bids, you would take that back to the Finance Committee and go over said bids, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And also, too, when getting bids, it is probably a time-sensitive thing. Okay, so that being said, I'd like to make a motion to suspend second and third readings.
Mr. President,
Ms. Nichols, is that you? So we have a motion to suspend second and third readings on Resolution 10-2016 by Ms. Whitlow-Spock and a second by Ms. Nichols. Do I hear any discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Stiles.
My question was for the finance director, but I didn't realize she was gone. I wanted to ask her, where do we stand on moving forward with this project? So I guess, Ms. Long, from the finance director standpoint, where do we stand on moving forward for the city center project?
Well, once we receive the bids and get an idea of where the project will coming in at, we would then research loans or whether it be a bond agreement, depending on what we decide to take on with the renovation. So we still have to figure out, what financing options we would like to entertain.
Okay. So whichever avenue we travel down, we can afford either or? The mayor's
You
shaking
would
her
have
head
to
yes,
afford it.
so-
I mean, I
The mayor's
don't
shaking
want to
her head
talk.
yes, so I'm going to say yes.
I want to talk for my finance director. I would like it coming from her, but
Well.
at the end of the day, she's giving very positive feedback about this building. She has, and especially considering she said that the fact that it could be a revenue source is something that you normally don't entertain. You usually are putting out something and then not getting anything from it. The fact that this could be a revenue source is a positive for the city.
Mr. President.
Mr. Herzl.
I have a couple questions. They had a couple proposals there on proposal 1. Are you putting out bids for just proposal 1? Or are you putting bids out for the other 2 proposals also?
I think the reason why we did proposal 1, and I would like to have all of our feedback, the task force, the finance, and see which ones you would like to do. Would it be the windows? Would it be the lights? This is a group effort, so everybody's input is definitely needed. So I think it would be very helpful to get the task force back together along with council and see which, or finance committee. I'm not sure which committee would be discussing this, and to see what way we would like to break the project apart in and tackle it. But I think initially we were hoping at minimum that we would take care of the roof and the HVAC and air. At minimum, we were hoping that to be a part of part 1.
Ms. Whitlisbach.
I hate to speak for Mr. Herzl, but were you meaning, are you going to be getting a bid on the entire thing or just the roof? Or are you going to get on everything and come back with the whole package? And so that we can look at it all?
Yeah, I want to get an idea of the whole package so we can look at it all. It makes no sense to just keep on, let's investigate this. Let's just knock it all out.
Mr. Dewalt.
Was I right to?
Yeah, I like to tag along with what you said. I think with all of us, the most important thing is the roof. And so if you had at least a couple bids on the roof alone, and then we could go from there.
Mr. President.
Mr. Herzl.
Okay, you go out and get the bids. Let's say there's 3 different people that bid on the project, and you choose one of them. At that point, what are our obligations on that?
This would not be choosing any of the bids. This is just finding out these are what the bids are, so we can find out how much it would cost. And that's where going out and finding, okay, we have our priority lists of what are the most important going on down the line, and find out what all of these things cost to see, okay, what can we roll into one package?
Right now, we do not have a good hard number of what these renovations would take care of. We are guesstimating. These are all estimates. Because of the size of this job, we have not been able to do that. So that is why we have to get permission to go out for bids so we can open it up and do it in a correct fashion, and we can then be able to see exactly what we're dealing with. The roof, there could be issues with the decking. We have no clue. We need to go out for bids so we can see what the severity of the situation is. So right now, we have not been able to do that because with this job and how much it could potentially cost, there's a proper way to do so, and we need your permission to be able to open up to do so.
I guess my question is, are you obligated once these bids come in?
There's no obligation,
Okay,
no.
That's my question is, you may have 3 different bids, but you're not obligated to any one of them. You're just going out and getting bids from 3
Correct.
different people.
Correct.
Okay.
further discussion? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to suspend second and third readings, made by Ms. Whittlesbach and a second by Ms. Nichols. Roll call.
Ms. Sorb?
Yes.
Mr. Dewald?
Yes.
Ms. Whittlesbach?
Yes.
Mr. Hartzell?
Yes.
Ms. Nichols? Yes. Ms. O'Shea?
Yes.
And Ms. Stiles?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to suspend the second and third readings of Resolution 10-2016.
Do I hear any further motions?
Where are we at? Sorry.
So we need to
Suspended.
adopt
Suspended.
Resolution 10. Ms. Nichols?
I know.
Mr.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Nichols to adopt Resolution 10-2016 with a second by Ms. Whittlesbach. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Sorb?
Yes.
Mr. Dewald?
Yes.
Ms. Whittlesbach?
Yes.
Mr. Hartzell?
Yes.
Ms. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. O'Shea?
Yes.
And Ms. Stiles?
Yes.
Motion passes. We've adopted Resolution 10-2016.
Ron Mosby, 718 Clover Nook, and I just wanted to thank council for approving that so that we can make an informed decision. I also greatly appreciate you all acknowledging the work that we did in order to put that together. And to kind of address Mr. O'Shea's point, which I can appreciate. In other words, if we're going out for a proposal, we clearly know what the intent is, and while that is our intent, hopefully, if the bids that came in too high, as Mr. Hartzell referred to, and it couldn't be done, it just couldn't be done. But at least I'm grateful because your action has indicated that there is a sense of urgency and a priority, and I certainly want to thank you for that.